million dollar neighborhood. That house that I lived in was finished in 1999. We paid $99,000 and $340,000.
Congratulations.
Yes. The opportunity to pay higher taxes. But it's gonna be interesting to see how this works out in the future. New, then, yeah,
I don't know that there's that much that it's gonna make a difference.
Wow.
You?
It will definitely lower. Tax rate, but with the revaluation.
Tara or Rob,
That's
could
my
you please say something? I just want to see, make sure we have audio.
I can hear you.
Yep, I'm good.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You are ready to go.
It's recording, good,
You're set.
okay. Morning, everyone, this is Planning Board, Thursday, February 8, 2024 already, huh? So let's do a quick roll call, starting with Margaret.
Margaret Turner, alternate.
Alan Burko, alternate.
Rick Smith, alternate.
Bill Spence, member.
John Racine, member.
Morgan Dean, member.
Rich Rita, select board ex officio.
Catherine Brennan, member.
Rob.
Rob Wilson, alternate.
So, Nancy and Mike will not make it today, so I'm gonna seat Alan Burko, Rick Smith. Today. Done. So. The minutes, we'd like to look them over. What we wanted to let you guys know is we tried something a little different with the minutes. As you look at them, you'll see a little different. Format, I guess you would call it. You think? Yeah.
Yep.
Let us know what you think about it. We're trying something a little different as you go through it. Oh, I'm sorry, we got, let's go January 11th first. We have two meeting minutes to look through. And if you see something, just yell it right out. Don't be shy.
Are you ready?
We are, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah. It's a nitpick, but on line 7, I think the sentence should begin with the video recordings of the meeting is the following line, number 9 says the meeting was called to order.
Okay,
It's just a nitpick, but it looks better if it is that way.
okay.
And on line 70. I hope the copies are the same as it said the willingness to build and to maintain the restrooms for public use. That's my suggestion.
So leave out,
Well, you can
Privately?
leave privately there if you want, but
okay. And
If-
say that again, what you wanted to do. in
okay,
that?
the willingness,
Okay,
no, and I'm making a suggestion to say that.
tell me what.
Again, it's a nitpick, but you're not supposed to separate infinitives. So privately to build and to maintain the restrooms for public use.
Okay,
Lines 80, 81 in there. I don't know if you guys could just read that a little bit. I feel like the discussion was about, like when you're abutting, to aim to standardize the side and rear setbacks. But should there be some comment about, it's like, but it's only when you're abutting, certain, the LDR, when the BC and the LDR are abutting the HDR. So,
so
makes sense.
what would you like to say? So it's
Well,
clear for,
and is this how I remember it to be? So the rear, okay, it should. If I'm correct in my understanding, so aim to standardize the side and rear setbacks across BC and LDR, like when abutting the HDR. Does that, I think that better represents what Amendment 6 was, because it was just in that one case.
Mhm.
Could I, ask a
That-
question?
That was backwards. It's-
Okay,
It's the VC, I'm not looking at the minutes, but what you just said should be the HDR and VC when abutting LDR.
okay, so when abutting LDR, okay, yes, thank you. So instead of and, it should be when abutting.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the minutes. I just caught what you said wasn't quite right.
Well, let me reread it. Okay, so which aim to standardize the side and rear setbacks across the VC HDR when abutting, actually it should be said then the VC and HDR when abutting the LDR to 20 feet.
Yeah, and it would have made it the same as the LDR as well.
Okay,
Okay. And I think it's more accurate.
okay.
All right.
I personally too, so if I don't forget, I like the timing. I like I don't know how everybody else felt, but it gives it a sense of how long did we discuss, like.
Well, what I
How the
took
meeting
from,
went.
okay, I think that's correct, but also what I took from it, if you're listening, you could find it easily,
Yes, that's great, yeah.
because if you ever go through this exercise of trying to re-listen,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to,
No, I
So,
think
this
that's a
is
good
good.
idea. And then I had on line 119, I don't know, does TAP grant need to be all cap, the TAP need to be all caps? It's significant, I think, but. So. there you
Could I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
I think I know the answer to, otherwise I wouldn't ask the question. Am I correct that the actual language here is generated by AI software? So this is what the AI
Yes.
is hearing.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
fascinating.
So any corrections you make, I mean, that doesn't mean it's gonna be correct all the time, but this is what the AI picked up.
So this makes it a little clearer. That's what we're trying. So
Right.
I personally like it. I mean, it looks like most everyone else likes it, but as we go, let's see how it works. And if not, we go back the old way.
There's still human intervention. I mean, you then look at what the AI generated.
Yeah, we have to, we noticed on a select board meeting or two, it had trouble picking up some of the motions, so we do have to re-watch the video in its entirety, but it's probably cut our time down in half with respect to how we record the minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot of time involved in doing it the other way.
But the language here is what it heard.
Yeah,
Okay, then I
So-
question,
Must be careful.
that's why we're gonna go over it.
Yeah, well, or what corrections you want to make, because
Hopefully, yeah.
this should be the accurate, according to the AI software, this
Yeah.
should be the accurate.
all right,
Declaration.
I question AI's sentence structure
Yeah.
in line 97. Okay, also comma, that is, I'm reading what I think, I'm making a suggestion for line 97. Also comma, discussion focused on the notion that the proposed options are not short-term solutions.
So just a comma.
No,
No.
Say that again for me.
I'm not able, because I overwrote, so I'm not able to read what's actually there.
Oh,
My suggestion of what the sentence should say is also discussion focused on the notion that there's something else is there as
The
opposed,
proposed options are not short-term solutions.
mhm.
in other words, it's a matter of sentence structure.
Okay.
Also in line 107, to me, it's two sentences. It said the motion to send to Terra option number 4 to craft an ordinance for zoning amendment number 6, period. The board will discuss on Monday, January 15th, whether to bring it forward to a public hearing. In other words, take out that, make it two sentences.
Okay.
Again, it's sentence start, number 119. The town core group did not meet And it should, instead of due to, it should be because. Because it is waiting for word from,
Okay,
same on 122. The Forest Service is scheduled, like not for, like, you don't need a preposition there. Is scheduled to make a site visit on January 19th.
you mean line 121?
122.
Um,
Well, we have one.
It should read, the Forest Service is scheduled to make a site visit on January 19th.
All right, that's line 21,
Okay.
121,
All right, so what I'm reading is what was sent to us on email,
okay,
but it's close.
okay.
Enough already.
So Steve, question, when we make these corrections, you won't go in there with AI, you'll go in there manually to do these corrections?
Correct.
Okay,
And in hopes with the grammatical corrections and sentence structure corrections, we could get them in advance of our meeting. If we get the minutes out in a more of a timely manner.
I gladly do that, but I was asked not to do it. I was asked to do it here in the meeting for this ex parte business. Yeah, I'd gladly send this, or so we don't have to spend time doing this in the
If it's
meeting.
not substantive, then it's just grammatical. Or,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it again.
that would be the better way to do it. That's how we do it on the select board.
everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, let's try it that way.
Yeah.
Just don't send it to everybody.
Yeah.
Send it only to Alicia.
Right, right, that would be,
That's
Bill.
fine with me.
yeah. Okay. Anything else on for the 11th minutes?
I move to accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Molly?
Aye. Okay, let's take a look at January 15 minutes.
So line 14 contradicts line 17. I don't know, was Nancy there or not? Skip full member.
You're correct about that.
Hmm. Um.
She was present, yes.
So on line 17, take out Nancy's name. Wait a minute, were you
Hmm?
absent?
I was absent.
Okay. Good catch, Kathy, on that one.
I think line 21, wasn't it? Is it Lisa Fernandez or Lori?
Lori.
Yeah, it's Lori. So on line 21, it should be Lori instead of Lisa.
What's the matter with this AI?
Good catch, Rick.
All right, line 40. The amendment was initiated to address housing challenges and explore ways to facilitate instead of easier. That is, I don't think we're doing this to make it easier. I think the ways to facilitate building housing in Waterville Valley,
Okay.
at least, and it's a better sentence. Line 56. I suggest that the sentence should read, the need for more discussion and exploration of alternative options before. Is that what it says? Before making a decision was emphasized. In other words, the way it was written is not a sentence.
To remove emphasis on, capitalize the need for more discussion and exploration of alternative options. To be emphasized.
Or making a decision was emphasized.
Was, okay.
Are we allowed to change a motion?
Depends.
Okay.
I don't think we are. No, I don't think we are, right, Mark?
Unless,
I don't.
The language has
unless
to
the
be exact.
language is not recorded correctly on the minutes. We can't change it.
It should read to drop amendment number 6 from further discussion rather than for.
Oh, well,
Big deal, right?
that's-
After the public hearings proposed.
Okay. That should be appropriate one.
Nothing more.
Anyone else? For the 15th? Want to make a motion?
Okay, I moved to accept the minutes as amended
Or it's January 15th?
for the January 15th minutes as amended.
Okay,
Seconded.
Morgan wants a second. Everyone in favor?
Okay,
Aye. Any opposed? We can move on. So before we go any further, I just really would like to read this one more time and probably many more times as we go through meetings. But I have my excellent reader here. Just that little paragraph,
Okay.
please.
So this is communication from Tara. Drew, I had a question come up recently about conversations about applications that take place outside of meetings, such as between planning board members and applicants or abutters or other community members. It's a really tough thing to avoid in small towns, but very important to try to for a few reasons. These include grounds for appeal, appearance of bias, or even actual bias. It would be only human to consider our friends' feelings about a proposal next door to them instead of just the facts presented at meetings. Sending the attached guidance on the topic to all of my clients as a reminder.
Thank you. Just so everyone's aware of that. Very important. Also for the privilege of the floor, if you could hang on one second, but just to let you know, Tara Bamford is one of our consultants for the planning board, in case you didn't quite know who she was. Rob Wilson is also a planning board alternate for the planning board. Good morning, Rob. And Dave Noyce is, of course, you know, the chief of the fire department,
Public safety.
public safety.
public safety.
Rick.
Sorry. Okay, so I have privilege on the floor, but want to just, I would like to bring you up next on the minor site plan, but do you want to wait until we get rolling on it, or do you want to say something right now? Privilege of the floor.
Yeah, I guess I could say one thing. I just got back the bit that we talked about, I appreciate you talking about what we're gonna do down the garage. I just got back the prices on the plan, building plans and the site plan. The site plan came in around $4,500, the building plans are $2,700. I expect on a project, it's probably gonna be 150 grand to spend 7 or 8 grand on it. On smaller projects, they're a minor site plan, I have a problem spending 3 grand on a project that's gonna cost 3 grand to build. And that's probably why the application, I would hope that you would accept the application as submitted. It is a lot more information than the previous deck that was permitted, because the deck is now there, so we can all see it. It's a small town. Beauty of the small town is we all choose to live here. Nobody was born here. So, and we have to work together. We're all, there are conflicts of interest. They're direct conflict of interest. I think it's really my choice to say whether or not there is a huge direct conflict of interest. Obviously you can recuse yourselves at any time, but it is difficult to get a quorum if we go by the rules. That's what I'm getting at. I guess. I'm happy with whatever you guys decide. You've been fair to me in the past. I think you're gonna be fair to me in the future. The project that I have in front of you right now is just not a real big deal. And I really don't wanna spend $3,000 to make $3,000. So that's really all I'm saying. So
Okay,
I don't wanna get real technical about it. If we get technical, the whole thing kind of disappears.
mhm.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Craig. So we do have a lot of abutters here, so I'm gonna ask for some guidance how to handle that through Mark or Tara. We have some abutters on the
Yep.
board.
So, butters on the board. Well, people need to decide for themselves whether they feel like they have a special interest in the outcome of the board's process. I mean, individuals have to decide for themselves. That's how the law works.
Okay. I'm okay with it, but go ahead.
Yeah, she's correct, and I'm happy with that. But the Attorney General has very specific rules on ethics. And if you're a direct abutter, it's automatically perceived unless you have a letter from the Ethics Commission that says it's okay. So if you get real technical about it, I'm happy with anybody here that doesn't want to sit on it. Would prefer everybody to sit on it because I don't think we're gonna get a quorum. So if one does
Right,
it,
yeah.
they all should do it.
Well,
Well, we have
Um,
one.
so if you look, because I got an abutters letter. And I wonder if this is the key to whether or not you can participate in the planning board portion of this as opposed to being a butter in the peanut gallery. So I did a little research, and from what I read in NewHampshireMunicipal.org, when it goes through the list of procedures for planning board, it notes when under recusals that direct abutter status is automatically disqualifying.
Hmm.
And that is based on a court case, at least Supreme Court. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how correct this is. Toddy versus the town of Grantham, where that exactly what the court decided, that a direct abutter is automatically disqualified. So I'm confused here because I'm hearing on one side that an abutter,
Mhm.
it's up to the abutter to decide whether or not, and this is not, it doesn't, there's a whole different category of financial pecuniary interest. This is a butter. Those are two different things according to the law, as I understand it. So I'm confused as to what I can or can't do, having received an abutter's letter. It seems to me the language is quite clear, coming from the Supreme Court, if I'm reading it correctly, and it applies in this case, that it's a simple disqualification. There's no further need for discussion.
He's 100% correct, but it is your choice to sit on this board or not sit on this board. Where it would come into play is if somebody appealed your decision. Now, it could be,
Right.
it could be another abutter or somebody that has standing that wanted to appeal the decision, whatever you made, up or down. That's where it would come into play. And then there would be, if they went to the appeals court, Supreme Court, they would say automatically this needs to get recommended back down to the town. That's where it would come into play.
Mhm.
I'm probably not gonna appeal it. All right, if you deny the project, I would have the right to appeal it at any point. And I could pick up that point too and say, hey, they don't have a quorum, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not doing that, you know. I'm suggesting you do the meeting. If that comes to a point where this hearing gets appealed, then we have to make another decision. I think at that point, it probably won't build the deck. The roof, all I want to do is, it's been very popular. When it's sunny. it's
John,
hot.
I would not be letting the applicants start presenting their application.
It's up to you then to whether or not you recuse yourself, but if one recuses himself, everybody that's a direct abutter has to recuse themselves. I don't see it any different. It would come up in an appeal in a court case.
Okay, so let us.
So I can respond to Rich. And there's
Okay.
like clarity. I mean, one is the law and one's an interpretation of the law. My guess would be the big thing that a court would look at in this is whether or not you can see it from your home. Because it's a large piece of property that touches on a lot of lots in town.
Mhm,
That's an interpretation.
mhm.
I can interpret too.
Well,
Wait a minute, Morgan, go ahead.
There is also in Rich's reading about fiduciary interest. Does that include like members of the golf course, or if we were talking about the athletic clubs, that members?
That wouldn't be interpreted that way, but it could affect property values, what happens in the view. And that's why I said, I think it makes a difference whether you could see the proposed development from your home.
No, I think you're the only one who got,
I don't know that. I don't know. if anyone
I got
in
else.
this, you got one?
Yeah.
Okay, did you get one, Phil?
No,
I did not either, so.
Well, just because you didn't get one doesn't mean you're not a direct abutter. I mean, John, you are a direct abutter.
Of course, I'm just,
And
Well,
Bill's
so am I.
a direct abutter.
Yeah, we're all
No.
neighbors.
Mike's the direct abutter. Nancy's the direct abutter.
so
That's,
hang on 1 minute. Mark, you had something you'd like to say?
Yeah, no, the abutters list was prepared, the direct abutters all received notice. The condo association board received the notice. We do not notify every owner. We only
That's fine.
notify the association.
Okay, that makes it clear.
And that's why some people on the board sitting here did not get an envelope,
Yeah.
but their association did.
That's sort of the same as like an owner versus a renter. You would notify the owner, not the
You
renter.
notify the property owner. not
Got
the
it.
renter.
Doesn't exclude the direct abutter scenario, or they have a direct interest in it. Whether they're a tenant, if they're a tenant, they have all the rights of the owner. That's a legal precedent. Thus, they have all the rights of an owner. In condo association, they own a piece of that property, either 1/26 of it or whatever. They're a direct abutter, whether they got the mail or they didn't get the mail. If the mail never got delivered or they didn't pick up the certified mail, does not preclude them from have a direct abutter.
Well, under New Hampshire state law, it does, that the town followed the law.
Wait, whoa,
I'm saying to you that this is
Hold it.
not a big enough deal to get that involved in it, unless you want to set a whole new board.
Okay,
The other
hold
thing
it,
is, unless
Craig,
you
hold
open
it.
this up, you
Craig,
got 65 days.
stop. Tara, you hold up just a minute. I think it's up to the board now what we want to do. Do we want to go forward with this? Or do you want to step out?
I say we go forward.
A question too. I say we go forward with it as well, but, do we still have a quorum with, if you've got like, we just need 4, right?
Yeah.
So we do have a quorum. If whatever people decide to do, I'm fine either way, but I
Right.
think we just go forward because if someone's not comfortable, that's fine. They can recuse,
Right.
whatever, but we can still go forward, right?
Right, so I would like to not waste any more time on this and just decide if someone wants to step out away from the board, let's do it now. If not, let's move forward. Rich, anybody? Rick,
I'm fine with hanging in here.
okay. Cause I did seat you, so you're a full, you can vote.
I mean, you could, I don't know if you, at this point, could unseat me and seat someone else.
I could only if you want.
I'm fine.
Okay, Rich,
no, I think it's a question, I think I agree with Craig to the extent that this is an issue that could come up on an appeal process. So if the board is willing to run that particular risk, I'm fine with sitting here, but I don't see why we'd want to run that risk if you've got other people here who can fill the quorum.
so that means you would step out, I would step out, Bill
No,
would
you,
step out,
no,
Rick
you
would
guys,
step out.
no,
Individual
you're not
basis.
direct abutters.
Yes, they are.
We are.
I'm a butter.
Show me your letter,
Because the letter's not the legal thing.
but
I go to court. If you don't pick up your certified mail, that doesn't make it legal.
It's,
Okay, we still have enough to settle the matter if all of the abutters leave. We have Kathy, Morgan, Alan, and Margaret,
See Tara?
And Rob's on there.
and Rob is there. He's not an abutter. So that might be an easy solution.
So I can see Margaret.
Rob can't be part of the quorum.
He's
He's
not part
not
of the
physically
forum,
here.
but he can-
He has to
Okay,
be
then
here,
you can
right?
tell, still 4.
Yeah, I would designate Margaret as my replacement because as select board officio, the select board decides who represents them at this board and has decided that Margaret would be that person in the event I'm not available.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Then you have 4 and 5.
okay.
So are we seating Margaret?
We're gonna unseat Rich Rita, seat Margaret.
Let's see me.
We're gonna unseat
You said we were-
Rick Smith.
Sorry to drag this out, but is it just they can just recruit for this particular thing, you're just recusing themselves?
Right.
It's not really
Just-
unseating and it's just recusing, right? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah,
maybe it's semantics, but like,
Yeah,
they
it
come
becomes
back
part of the
in.
general public.
Yeah, and then they come right back in though, right?
Yes,
It's not
yes,
like they,
yes,
right.
yes.
Just for the moment.
As soon as this decision has been, as soon as the
Yeah,
vote is.
you're back.
You sit back down.
Yeah.
Right, so,
Bill,
Okay.
Who's taking my place?
Either Robert or
no, because we have 4.
4 people are left.
You're gonna step out and I'm
Then
gonna have
Rob
to
can
step,
You
jump
can,
in. He can discuss, he just can't vote because he's not here.
right.
And then it's the 4.
No.
No, he
No.
can't discuss?
If somebody is recusing themselves, they're part of the audience, they're participating as an abutter if they speak.
No, Rob though.
Oh, Rob, I'm sorry. Yeah, Rob's still, yeah,
You just can't.
Yeah.
he just can't be part of the quorum.
He'd be part of the quorum, but
Okay.
can't vote.
All right, so who's gonna take the chair's
Sorry,
place?
Rob.
Martin, you wanna try it?
I'll try it.
wow, Morgan, you're it.
Test run. You're up.
Did you, you got a copy of this, right? Just aside.
Yes,
from-
yes. Can I
Okay.
read this while you sit down?
Yeah, and. we want to
Yep.
Continue.
Okay,
And Tara's there to help you. so,
right, okay.
Okay.
100%,
Yeah.
right?
And everything's good. We're working on it for you, Frank. Bear with us.
All right, so we need to, the next thing on the agenda is to review the minor site plan application, which Tara did review.
And the first step of the board is to decide whether to accept it as a complete application or not before you open the public hearing.
You have the power to open it up as a completed application.
Do I have the floor?
Yes, you do.
So I provided comments and recommendation on that. And so my recommendation is to let Craig know what you need to see for a complete application and continue it to the next meeting. And those would be clear plans about what's there now, which we didn't receive as required as part of the deck, what structural changes are proposed, what lighting is proposed and what the uses are. And I could show on the screen what was approved is this red 30 by 20 deck. And this is the plan that was approved for that deck. We have correspondence from Craig saying that it was built a different size, but we never received a plan and as built as required showing that. And what we received with part of this application looks quite different. It's not a square or rectangular deck. So we're looking for a plan showing what's there now and exactly what structural changes are proposed, what lighting changes, and what the use would be. But that's my recommendation before it's accepted as complete.
Okay,
All right, I'm saying you can accept anything that I propose. I do really, as I started saying earlier, I really don't see the need to spend $3,000 on plans, and that's what it would cost to do that. The original deck, I spent $2,500 on plans, $1,500 on an engineer thing to build the original deck. The original deck is there. And as-built does prove where it is on site, and not in relationship to abutters and whatnot. And we pretty much know the deck is built. I built it a little bit, a third smaller than what was approved. Mainly because it fit better, and on paper, things look different. So I did build it smaller, and I'm not proposing to build it bigger, or I mean, even though I probably could. I just want to put a roof structure on the top. I did not pay money. I took that off the internet. Obviously, it's not to scale. It's not even, it's somebody else's boathouse. But for me to have engineered plans drawn would be quite expensive, which on a bigger project, it comes into play a lot better and a lot more, makes more sense. This is just to make our members and our public a little bit more comfortable. When it's sunny out, it's hot as all hell out there. When it's raining like it did every Saturday last summer, we had a problem using it at all. All right. To build a structure roof on it, like an awning or something, it would blow away. It would be a problem. We do use umbrellas out there now. The umbrellas occasionally blow away. And they're just problematic. We would like to build a structure roof on it. We have to build it to code, meaning we have to take into consideration snow loads, even though we're not using it in the wintertime. As far as engineered beams and whatnot and posts, you can only go 6 feet usually on an open span unless you get engineered lumber in there or steel.
Okay.
So some of it is partly is it's cheaper to put more posts in it than it is to get engineered lumber in there. So it's gonna be kind of, we do cantilever over the pond by about 4 feet. And it was built to handle that, and the footings are there are pretty substantial. The roof structure will not be that heavy or that obstruction. It is hidden behind the building, kind of like. I don't think any neighbors can
Like
see
hidden
it.
from the road, right?
You can't see it from the road. The deck is physically there if anybody wanted to look at it. It's gonna be the roof over that particular deck. So technically, you got more information than you had on the first hearing when the deck wasn't physically there.
Okay.
As-builts are important on bigger projects, I guess, or if, right now, I couldn't even do an as-built on it because you can't find the monuments, without snow. You could do a tape as-built on it, which means we do have an as-built on the clubhouse itself, which is the most important structure. And that is sitting on the lot. Actually, when we did do the addition on that, we found out it was straddling the lot lines, and thus we combined the lot lines. So that's the deal. You can accept my application as presented. Again, some of these things that are being talked about, especially like the quorum and the plans and the as-bills also, would come up on an appeal by somebody with standing, which means an abutter. And that doesn't mean that you're negligent or that I'm negligent. It's just that's where it would come into play.
Okay. So we have Tara on, I guess, I don't know how to say it, but she's our contracted town planner. So she takes a look at all these things now. And based on her comments, it doesn't seem that the application is complete. Partly because of what's already there, right? The as-is build. But also the lighting design and.
There are no lights.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I think all it was permitted in the first one was rope lighting, which we haven't even done.
I mean, I conceptually, it makes sense. I understand what you want to do, but the application, I don't feel is complete. I mean, when I looked at it and I had a lot of questions, like when this was sent, like you said, now that's not really what it looks.
I was told to send that afterwards, and I didn't want to.
Because I'm like, well, there looks like there's an enclosed structure on that, so, and then. Yeah, and the deck and stuff, like I said, again, I don't have a problem conceptually, like I get it, but I think that we're setting a bad precedent if we accept this as complete, because it's not.
Well,
And where there's so much development that's gonna.
There's
be
not
going
so much
on. Just a second,
development.
Let me finish. There's so much development that's gonna be going forward too in our community as it's growing. Yes, we're small, but we're getting bigger all the time. And I think that it's important for consistency to have, you know, that, to dot our i's and cross our t's. And that's just.
the only thing I would say about precedent is I don't think in the last 3 years, you only had 3 applications. So I mean, I don't see how you're gonna set too many precedents here. I don't see anybody coming in here. There's no land really available. Yes, the town square might change a little bit. That's a hugely different project than a roof over an existing deck. It is hugely different. If you think that they're gonna say, I don't need an as-built because they're building a $6 million hotel because I got a $2,000 deck, maybe they'll say that, but at that point, you can easily say, no, we require it. When I go down, if I'm gonna do work, when I present plans on the garage, I will present plans. And like I say, I just signed contracts for almost say $8,000. I have to spend $8,000 to make application. On the project that's 150 grand, yes, it kind of plays in, it comes into the factor. On a project that's all literally just a more convenient item, I can put umbrellas up, I can put an awning up without a permit and solve my problem. The only problem I really have is every time it blows up there, I gotta take the thing down. So, and I'm the only guy there. All right, so yes, you're 100% right, you're all right, all the abutters are right. I'm just saying, if you deny it, I'm not building. Period.
Morgan, can I make a suggestion? Yes? So the minor site plan is a way to not have a business owner need to make a big expense. It doesn't require an engineered plan. It doesn't require a plan stamped by a surveyor. It requires a plan reasonably drawn to scale with enough detail to enable the board to determine compliance with regulations. We don't have a drawing of what's proposed. We don't have any drawing of what's proposed. We're not asking, my recommendation isn't to ask Craig to get something stamped by a surveyor or engineer, but to provide a clearly drawn plan sketch. He can draw it himself with a ruler on an orthophoto of what's there now and what's proposed, so that it's clear when you have the public hearing and in the file in the future, what was approved.
All right,
It shouldn't be a big expense.
well, it is, because if
But I'm not gonna argue back and forth with the applicant.
I can go over this particular one, this comes as better than if I could draw it myself. It does cantilever over. I don't know what the size of this is, but I'm telling you what the size is gonna be. I'm gonna tell you that the roof structure is gonna be very similar to that, meaning it's gotta be substantial to hit the load. It has to be supported by posts and beams. It has to, and I'm proposing that it's be open, with no walls, no windows, no screens, no nothing. And so it's kind of like that. There are some other things going on there, but that's the closest one I could find on the internet to what I was thinking about. I do want to make it look like a boathouse, period. I'm not that artistic. I'm not that good at drawing stuff. That's why I usually have people do it for me. I do know how to build, and I do know what it requires is to build things.
Right.
So if you have questions, technical questions on how the roof structure will be supported, I can answer those questions. If you ask questions whether or not is there going to be a room or a wall, I do propose that on the back side that's closest to the direct abutter, which is Michael. I was going to put a wall up, and that's where to block off the cart where the carts are parked, let's say, and that was it. I can do whatever you ask me to do, actually, if it's structurally feasible. As far as, I don't know, I have to build it to code. We have a building inspector in this town who will supervise the work that's being done. You have no clue, which you don't expect, how to build these things. So I don't know if I came in with structural plans, which we did on the original deck, we came in with structural plans because we were cantilevering it, and I wanted to make sure that the footings were correct and that you understood that it was cantilevered over. And that's what we did.
So I think, to be
You actually
fair,
have more plans now than you had before.
so, but to be fair, originally approved was 20 by 30 and you built something different. So that's sort of where.
Well, I still have
I'm
the
coming
right to
from.
build a 20 by 30 because that's what it was approved and that's what the building permit. Just because I didn't do it, I built a 22 by 20. Just because I didn't do it doesn't mean that's my right. It doesn't mean it's an invalid permit.
Nope, I didn't say that. So what I'm saying is that we don't have an accurate representation of what you're going to build, so how can we approve something that we don't know what it's going to look like?
Right.
That's we have no issue with what you're going to build.
Well, then what you're saying, but I'm not, no big deal, and I'm not being critical, but even if I came in here with certified, plans that were construction plans, I'm not so sure that you're capable actually to understand, are they correct or not?
Well, I think that what
This is
Tara
the-
was saying that you don't actually need to come in if it's a minor site plan, and Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have to have these structural plans, number one. Number two is that really, that's not your position to say what we understand and what we don't understand, so, fair enough there. So I don't, in my opinion, I don't think that it's complete. I don't think we're asking too much. I mean, I'm not an artist either, and I mean, but to be able to see what you're thinking, fill out the form, completely. I don't think it should be too I mean, I don't know.
Try doing
I feel like, we're not asking for structural plans, right? Tara,
Well,
is it a minor
there's
site
no
plan?
difference between the two.
Well,
whether-
you just said you could draw it if you wanted to.
That's a
don't have
structural
to.
plan, that's a structural
And we
plan.
need something,
So there's no
Okay.
difference between the two.
that's
Either
your
it,
choice
no, it's not my choice.
to whether.
My
you-
choice is right here. This is probably 90% of what I want to build. A visual plan is a lot better than if I built a stick plan.
In your opinion, but this is what's required, and we are bound by the regulations to require these things.
No, you're not. You can accept the application as submitted. That's what a minor thing is. A major one is a little different. All right, and there's a different criteria and there's a reason for that. Like she said, it's because you do not want to tie my hands on what I consider, this is about 90% of what I want to do.
But it's not 100%, and that's what we need.
If I give you a stick build like I did before, it wasn't 100% either, because I built only 60% of the plan.
So what you're saying is that what you submit won't necessarily be what actually gets built.
I'm saying structurally, we run into structural issues and on the floor, on the ground, you have to change your plans occasionally, mainly for constructional plot. One of the reasons we didn't build the deck to 30 feet, we ran into some huge rocks out there and it was just gonna be cost problem, drilling footings into them. We started drilling in we were hitting rocks.
Yeah.
And so we moved it a little bit closer to the center of the building and we actually made it smaller. Because it was gonna cost X amount of dollars to drill through these rocks and
Right.
get these rocks out of here. Thus, we made a decision to make it smaller. I'm happy with that, and I'm saying, on a structural deal, you get out there and yes, I can draw it on a piece of paper, but those posts have to be on footings and they have to be in certain locations. Or because the weight load goes straight down and into the ground. Now, that is a structural plan. Now, if I do it, it might not be that accurate. So thus on the ground, we might change it a little bit. All right. The other thing is grade issues. We want to keep the grade issues the way they are. There's one end of it is on grade, which is solves the ramp problem. The other stuff, there is steps there, but there are maybe some technical things that we will probably change because every project I ever done, we had to improvise on site. So you're never going to get 100% of a project anyway.
No, I'm not asking for you to build exactly what you're telling us to.
Well, I'm
to
saying
the
this is
dot.
about visually wise is about 90% of what I want to do.
Right, but the application itself with all the things that are required is not 100%. Go ahead.
I have
Catherine.
not to call you, but what are, Alan, Margaret, what are your thoughts? I mean, you've heard our,
Well,
discussion.
I heard Tara mention three things. One was, there are a number of NAs on the application. And I believe that they are there because they were not applicable. For instance, the electrical. He's basically saying, I'm not doing any electrical. He put NA on the application. That was an honest thing to do, okay? what is the other thing I was thinking of?
Structural changes,
The drawing, if that is an issue, I know several artists in town who will be glad to draw a picture,
Mhm.
which is, I believe is, Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody draws a picture of what's going to go there based on what Craig tells them, does that satisfy the need for a picture?
Sure. I mean, we're just looking at section 7 of the site plan regulations. There's one paragraph describing a minor site plan procedure.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure I can find people who can do that for free. And the third thing, there was an NA in there in terms of change of use. Again, I didn't hear anything that said there were gonna be a change of use. So putting not applicable on the application is an honest representation of what's going on. So it seems to me the biggest stumbling block we have is getting a picture of an accurate or somewhat accurate rendition of what it's going to look like.
Well, that's part, yeah, I would think that that would be a big stumbling block, which we could overcome. Alan, what's your thoughts?
I agree with Margaret. If this application had a sketch of what it was, no brainer, that's good.
Does the public have anything? Just please introduce yourself as well.
Yes. Hi, Henry Risman, 3 Drake's Brook. So, I apologize for gagging this. I am definitely opposed to this plan. I am probably the closest direct abutter with the land right there, and it does not fit in with the surroundings, first of all. I mean, I have pictures
Well,
here.
Morgan,
Yeah.
it is up to you as acting chair whether to allow the public to speak, but this is more sounding like public hearing content, which you can't open the public hearing on an incomplete application.
Gotcha.
Can I add something sort of related to it? I don't see where this meets the minor site plan. According to the Waterville guidelines and in multiple places, 1, by the size, 2, we don't know if there's exterior lighting. We hear that, but we don't know. It's more than 500 square feet. There's just a million things in harmony. It just doesn't fit the site plan in multiple places. A minor site plan, I take that back. So I can appreciate Greg not wanting to spend any more money on plans. I truly get that as a business person. But at the same time, I don't know what's going to be there. It's a boathouse on an irrigation pond, literally right in front of where we look out when the house we're going to build. It doesn't fit. And then if after hearing and a full site plan, you decide to go forward, then so be it, that can happen. I didn't want the deck was there, fine, it happens. But when you go through, I went through all the Waterville guidelines, it doesn't fit most of them as far as a minor site plan.
Okay,
So that's just my thoughts. Thank you.
thank you.
If my recommendation would be a picture of what we really, like what your vision is.
Well,
what it
that's
would
a
look like.
picture, so you're
Okay.
asking for a sketch versus a picture.
Well, of what, but you're telling me though, that is there gonna be is there gonna be an enclosure? Is it gonna be?
I think that
you know,
if you
but-
look at, I didn't do that, obviously,
Mhm.
but
Right,
I
you
think
put-
it's a wall. I don't think I
Okay.
don't know. I
So
don't
wait,
even
let
know
me
where
just
it came
finish really
from.
quick. 2 things. So yes, I think more of an accurate representation of what it would look like. And then the NAs, which I get, there's things that are on that aren't applicable, but even just an explanation of, there will be no lighting, because when you look at that application and all these NAs, you're like, okay, well,
I think you need to look at the building permits. That's my biggest pet peeve sometimes here is you don't look at the building permits. And the building permit, I submitted a building permit, that's what triggered this.
okay.
In the building permit, it was very straightforward. It didn't mention lighting, it didn't mention plumbing, it didn't mention anything except for a roof structure. And it is 440 square feet. The deck is 20 by 22. So it's not any bigger than that. It does meet that requirement. And we're not adding any more seats. We're not adding any different use. We're just making it more comfortable for the customers that we do have.
Okay.
That's really what they said. If you think that they'd be more comfortable with a sketch versus a picture, I guess I'll go along with that.
So should we call it to vote?
I just need direction though, if you're gonna do it.
So,
I've got I've got a comment. I totally agree with Margaret's points, as well as everybody's points. Yes, something that looks like this, fine, let's do it. I've made this comment over the years, a few times. I think as much as we do need to, as a planning board, make sure that we don't set precedents, we stick to the regulations. It's equally important, in my mind, maybe even more, that we support local businesses trying to enhance offerings to our visitors and all of us who live here. So just my comments.
Thank you.
I had one more thing.
Yes.
Henry Risman, 3 Fakesbrook. So I do have a question. I think the plan was submitted showed 20 by 30 as far as the size of it, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And I think Greg just said it's 20 by 22 now because he couldn't make it bigger because of the rock and the footings. So it seems to me, if he's gonna build this according to what he's submitted, the 20 by 30, I don't know how you're gonna do it. You're gonna need new footings.
Fair point.
No, the application, if you look at the building application I filled out in December, it says 20 by 22.
But the plan submitted with the application shows 20 by 30.
that's,
Cut it off 6 feet. It is what it is, all right? I don't know. If you want me to spend $3,000, I'll spend $3,000, I guess. I don't know. Then we're gonna have to bump these people's up. There's only 5 business owners in this town. There's not a lot, and there's probably gonna be less.
Alan, do you have something?
And nobody's asking you to spend $3,000.
right.
You can go to Mary Bordeaux. She will sketch this for you in 2 hours.
You go to Bertie Britton,
I know, I will.
Maddie who lives with me.
Yes, all right, that's fine. The certified, that's a certified plan. That was a proposed plan on that. We built it smaller. I have the right to build it smaller. I don't have the right to build it bigger. On my original application in December, it was very specific what I wanted to do. 20 by 22, no plumbing, no electrical, no nothing.
I actually didn't see any size on the application. That was in a follow-up email.
Pull it up, because I did write it. I know I did. I filled it out myself. And the building application was very specific.
Tara, are building permits then a part of the application because,
That's what triggers.
but
No, the building permit will be issued after. He's referring to the application, which did not include any drawings or plans. Dave is on here to correct me if I'm mistaken. It was just an application that with no specifics like this, and he would hold on to it until you give site plan approval.
yeah.
That's not it.
I don't see any size in here in the application.
How this gets triggered, if she's wrong, you file a building permit, which time the building inspector either says that he can approve it or he can't approve it. I submitted the application in the first week in December for this deck. He denied the building permit based on the fact that he felt it should have been a minor site plan review. That's the only way I can get here. You have to fill an application out to propose what you're trying to do, and that triggers a site plan review. You just can't come here and then get your permit afterwards. It has to be either denied or recommended to site plan review. And that's what happened. And that's how the system works. So that's not my building application. If you get,
Right.
No, it's just site plan application where I don't see any statement that it's 20 by 22.
the building permit is definitely part of the record.
Yeah, so let's, I think we've heard what everybody thinks so far. Can we call to a vote? Want to do roll call?
I do have the building permit application here and it does have 20 by 22. The description is open roof, 3-side structure over existing deck, 20 by 22. Prior site plan plus permit, no screens, no windows. Is in the description.
Thanks, chief. All right. Catherine, you want to start?
I'm just gonna kick it to Margaret.
All right.
How do you, to phrase a vote? So, I guess, are we to accept the site plan as presented?
I move to accept the site plan with the addition of a sketch of the proposed structure.
There. You would be. Well, the procedure for this would be to continue the review of the submission till the next meeting and request the applicant to provide a more accurate representation of what's there now and what changes proposed. You're not accepting the submission.
Okay,
Okay.
My
You're-
motion stands.
any second?
Wait, Tara, can we do that?
What?
Accept it conditionally?
No, there's no such thing as a conditional acceptance.
So we just punt it, basically. We table it for now.
You continue it to the next meeting till you have that, and then you can accept it as complete and have the public hearing.
You want to continue it with the language saying we'll continue it subject to more information, a sketch plan, so that we, not that would happen, but if you get to another hearing and then something else pops up.
That's my point is the only thing he's gonna have to do is a sketch. We're not gonna revisit anything else in the
We
application.
haven't opened up the hearing yet.
I mean, I feel that. Yeah, I mean, we need to see a complete application, so,
Well, what
you
is,
know, again, to me, that's the picture, you know,
The
but.
plans are provided clearly showing the footprint of the existing deck and all the proposed changes. Plan should include any proposed changes to lighting and intended uses of the new structure, which there are none, which you just said,
Right.
so.
Sounds
So
nice.
it's really just the sketch.
I'm just reading from what was sent to me from the town when I asked for the plans. And the purpose of this plan is to show the proposed location of a new 20 by 30-foot deck. So it's just, I received this like 2 days ago.
That's in the letter.
Yeah, it's right on the plan.
So there seems to be,
That-
Yeah, that's because that's what he submitted. This is what he submitted with the application. A plan showing a 20 by 30.
Okay,
But,
But-
okay, so can that be, again, doesn't necessarily have to have, you know, a professional rework of this, can this be fixed or changed by, you know, anybody really, but with the correct, I mean.
Yeah, we don't need this for the minor. I think you are on the right track, just describing, you know, a drawing or sketch accurately showing what's there now and the proposed changes. And then that's what you have the hearing on, and that's what goes in the file.
So I move, oh, well, okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. Are we?
Well, can we- wait,
I
so
had,
do we
wait,
read
I
that
had
in
a
a second?
motion, I had
Yeah,
a
you had a
motion on
motion.
the floor
and is anyone get a second?
and we didn't get a second,
Okay,
okay? So I'm gonna withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Since somebody else has a better idea,
all right.
yeah.
Okay, so I move that we, at this time, do not approve the site plan until, with the understanding that at the next meeting, could potentially be presented with a accurate representation of the proposal.
can you use the word continuance?
Yeah.
Okay,
And can you also use the word sketch?
okay. So I move that we further discuss the application or have a continuance to discuss this application until we can review a sketch of the proposal.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Sorry. I just don't understand how when you have the full plans on there, when a site plan is required. And it's clear as day that a minor site plan would not involve any additions or reconfigured building footprint, height or mass.
Mhm.
Clearly, there's a height difference nothing else.
The sketch will show that.
Well, I know, but then it wouldn't be a minor site plan.
No, it doesn't say that, it just.
It does,
Yeah, you
site
want- you
plan
want
is required in
plans.
section 4A, I mean, it's.
It's the board's discretion of what to accept a sketch for. I mean, that's in, the last item of minor site plan review is other new or expanded development activities or changes of use which the planning board determines at its discretion to be minor in nature. And my recommendation, and I'm here on the consensus of the board, is to allow a sketch for this application.
But correct me, I think that the question is by what he was reading, that the definition of a minor site plan, that this isn't a minor site plan because of the height. Is that what you're?
But I just read you the final item under the minor site plan review list. It lists all those specific things, but then it says basically, and the planning board can accept anything it wants as minor using its discretion.
Okay. All right, so there is a motion, it's been seconded. Margaret,
I vote aye.
Aye.
aye,
Rob?
He doesn't vote. 'Cause it's-
Yeah, I don't vote, but I
Yeah.
agree.
You do vote, you just don't count as part of that quorum.
Oh,
Okay, aye.
all right, motion passed.
I'm gonna make sure you put the height on the sketch, just how many you think,
Like 80 feet.
well, that's what I figured. Something like an Eiffel Tower.
And then when you're.
I'm trying to
we'll have
avoid
another
buildings like-
discussion.
I got kicked out of art class.
All right,
So you're right.
Tara, can I ask you a question? This is Alicia, do I need to renotice this? Do we need 21 days?
No, it doesn't need to be renoticed because it was continued.
Okay, thank you.
all right.
So-
It
Welcome back,
wasn't opened
everybody.
up either, so.
Thank
Right,
you, Craig.
it wasn't opened up, right? The hearing wasn't opened up.
There wasn't.
No, there is.
The hearings continued with the continuance of the submission.
It is, well,
It doesn't need to be renoticed.
I just wanted to make sure if I had to, so. Thank you.
wait a minute.
The next parte.
Mhm.
How did it feel, Morgan? Tower.
It's gonna be ripped from you now.
Happy to do. Relinquish it.
It's gotta be the one behind you. No, where you access the parking lot. Of course, there must be. That's it all.
So
Do you know what
you
the trade-
are
I'm current.
the chair,
So you need to read.
so why don't you receive him?
And so unseat, we unseat Margaret and Alan.
Why not just?
Alan was-
No, Alan's already,
Yeah, I was
okay,
thinking-
so we're unseating Margaret and we're reseating Rich.
Right.
You're the chair again. And Bill is also
Right. You can reseat.
Rick, not Rick.
Right.
You're Rich, you're Rick.
Rob.
Rick.
And Rob is unseated.
Please no.
Okay.
I hope AI picks that up.
And find out how good it is.
Right?
Thank you so much for handling that.
Thanks, Catherine.
We're just taking a moment to look at the map here.
Kind of curious where that gentleman's property was.
Yep.
Yes.
So I'm gonna wait for Mr. Secretary.
5 minute break then.
Good. Yeah.
Pretty gavel.
Yeah. I just want to remind the board that out of this room, you really can't discuss this. So if you're just passing each other and you say, oh, what'd you think of that? It's only two of us. Well, it's not appropriate to do that. Let's keep everything transparent so that we're all on the same page, or we can listen to your thoughts, but it has to be done in here.
And based on what I read, it goes the opposite way as well. So the board is entitled to, well, not entitled, but we should have all the information, including like a conversation that's happening outside in the future, should that come up. So like so according to my reading, in the ex parte that Tara sent was, obviously we cannot discuss things outside of this. If there are other issues that the townspeople are meeting and discussing, we have a duty and a right to rebut wrong information. So if people are having meetings, they should bring that information forward. Obviously, we can't be privy to every single conversation, but it works both ways.
Mhm. Very good point, Maureen.
Now, that certainly applies to social media. Because that's where most of this occurs.
Yeah.
And most of the misinformation occurs on social media.
Are you
So-
seeing things?
No, I don't have.
In
a
the past.
I don't have a specific reference,
Okay.
General comment.
but I can say in the past, I could make reference to the past. I don't want to waste time doing that. But the point is that where most of the misinformation that pertains to any of the issues that are before the board occur on social media. But, you know, I made the point previously, and that is that the board doesn't do anything about that. That is the rebuttal that you referred to. That's what reminded me to say this, that no rebuttal takes place, and so the misinformation dissipates even further.
Mhm.
Or is distributed further, and more people seem to accept it as true. When we know it's not.
There's. Okay, we gotta be careful if I can comment, Mr. Chair. There
Sure.
are two different legal aspects here. One is right to know. And one is ex parte, right?
Mhm.
So they're related but different. Ex parte means that no one on the board should be talking to someone who has an application in front of the board. All those discussions should occur with the full board or with the quorum
Right,
here.
that's so that,
That's ex parte. Right?
so that those who
Should
are
be hap-
for and
right.
those who are against have the same information.
Well, right, so if a town resident comes to you, knows you're on the planning board and says, I want to talk to you about something. If it's an application, I think I have this right, if it's an application in front of the board, then you really should not have that discussion. You should refer them to the board, you can presumably listen to them, but you say you need to bring that up in front of the board. If there's no application in front of the board and someone says, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. I don't see that that's a ex parte discussion because there's nothing in front of the board, if I'm understanding correctly.
Well,
Maybe I'm not understanding correctly then, Tara.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't advise doing that because then you run the risk, the same thing, you run the risk of the applicant coming and saying, well, so-and-so said this was fine. Rich said what I'm planning to do is fine.
Right, and then it would be up to Rich to say that, well, that was a conversation, there was nothing in front of the board.
But are you giving your opinion in advance? Are you making, this is like being on a jury. The standard is just like being on a jury. You'd have discussed the case before you got to the jury, so you're biased. Is the assumption. If people come up to you with questions, give me their contact information. And I can tell them how it fits with the zoning and whether they need site plan subdivision.
I would say that anyone comes up to me and says, I'm interested in this, what do you think? I say, well, you always have to say, you need to bring it to the board,
Or staff, or me,
or, all right, or staff, or you.
but don't ever give your feedback on what you think about what they're thinking.
And then there's, thank you for that clarification, Tara. Then there's right to know. But that's a different beast, right?
Right.
Right. So the comment here that was made was, even less than a quorum of the board members cannot discuss matters before the board. Is that what you meant, John?
My point is, don't discuss this particular right now, so it's clear, what we talked about this morning here for Craig Larson's project.
Right.
When you leave this room, you don't discuss it again until we come back into this room.
Well, I wouldn't tie it to, I'm not looking for.
I'm telling you, you gotta do.
Well, I'm trying to get clarification on that.
You cannot talk about what this,
Comes before the board.
the continuation. If someone comes up to you later on and says, hey, Rich, what do you think about that?
No, I'm talking about board members. I'm talking about right to know. I'm not talking about ex parte or discussions with town residents.
Why make it any more complicated than it's, let's keep it simple. You're just not supposed to, you are not going to discuss this particular motion or site plan or any of this until the next meeting with anybody else. Me or you, we can't come to each other and say,
okay,
hey, Rich, what do you think about that?
I would not like to tie it to a specific, I'm looking for general guidance, not a specific case.
Okay, then any site plan, major plan, any kind of, anything that goes on in this room should be staying in this room until you come back into this room. That's, and Tara's right, it's like a jury, you can't really discuss it. It's. That's the point I was just trying to make, so that we don't get all confused and, well, you know what, other people are doing social media and all the planning board members said this and that.
May I ask a question, Tara?
Yeah,
Tara, so in regards to social media, have you had any experience, like, I know that like the planning board's not gonna get like a Facebook account on its own and rebut things every time it comes up, but do you have any thoughts or are there any expectations on how we handle those things?
Boy, there's been a ton written on that and different views. I would reach out to the municipal association and get a legal opinion on that rather than mine.
Okay.
you must.
My understanding is that if an individual who happens to be a member of the board, but that is, you could write a rebuttal as an individual on social media and not violate any of these rules that we're discussing right now.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's correct. Not as an individual, if you're a board member, you can't.
But if they recused themselves for this particular issue, does
I
that
don't know,
matter?
does Tara have an opinion on that?
No,
I'm not gonna give a legal opinion on this.
if you have serious questions about this, we should bring town council here or have them come in by Zoom and address these questions with you.
Good.
Because that is the best way to do it. You do not, it doesn't count as a meeting when you're just having a discussion with the town attorney.
Non-public.
So it's not non-public.
Not even
a
non-public.
meeting.
Not even,
It's
it
not
doesn't
a meeting.
exist.
It doesn't exist.
I like that.
Because you are having a discussion with council.
Exactly.
And so if you guys want to set up a date, if you want us to reach out to town council, find out when he's available, then let him answer these questions because they're very important, not just for this case, but with what's coming, you're gonna be
No,
under
that's what I was
more
getting
of
at.
this scrutiny.
Yes.
So
That's what I was
think
getting
this
at.
is a good this is a good thing.
It's a small town and we're often, I
Small
mean, we
town, and it's a struggle, like Tara said, that.
run into people
you
all
know,
the time
All the
Exactly,
time,
yeah,
and
and they wanna talk.
but I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
right.
I think the basic rule is. If they want to talk to you about a planning board issue, especially if it is in front of you.
Yeah.
Okay, even the conceptual consultation that has come before you now,
Mhm.
right? Say, hey, we need to talk about that as a complete planning board. Like, I'm a member, but I can't speak for the planning board.
Mhm.
And I
That's what I-
can't give you my personal opinion outside of the board meeting. Because we've heard about possible plans for that. And I don't wanna prejudge anything.
Mhm.
And I think that's the easiest thing, like when you're approached at the post office or whatever.
Mhm.
Now, if it's something that has never come up before, or a weird idea that someone is totally new, sure, why not? You know, if you're members of the community and you can have an opinion, but once you hear about something that could come before the board or is before the board, just defer it to a meeting. And I think that's a safe way to do it until you talk to town council and get the definitive.
Okay.
And what about right to know?
And right to know is refer them to the staff. If they have a right to know, they wanna know what was said, just tell them to call town hall or come in and we'll get them the information that they want.
And board members talking among themselves, less
Board
than a
members
quorum?
Don't
Yeah.
do it. Don't
Less
do
than a
it.
quorum.
Even less than a quorum,
Mhm.
It's just-
especially if it's. If
In
it's
front,
Something
in front, right.
Right. That's what I'm saying, this is
So-
not,
Yeah, no, I just wanted that clarification. I wanted to direct.
Let me give you an example now, okay? I'm out walking my dogs every day. I go by the golf course every day. If Craig is there, Craig usually has a conversation with me.
Mhm.
At this point in time, he has a plan which has not been accepted by the planning board. And he may say to me, well, what do you think I should do?
right.
You said, you told them what you thought you should do at the meeting.
I did.
Yeah, we've
Is
already.
it all right to repeat that?
It's a
As
record.
we said in the planning board,
No,
you need a sketch, maybe a photo.
no,
Why is that not all right?
It's,
because you're discussing,
Well, I think let the town attorney tell you
Yeah.
whether that's okay.
okay,
Yes.
And tell you how to handle those situations.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think that's.
because
Mhm.
it just, there may be differing viewpoints and differing priorities and differing opinions.
Yep.
And I just wanna make sure you guys are doing it right.
Okay, when can we do this?
Well,
I can do it this afternoon, yeah.
well, no.
No, we gotta
I mean,
set it up.
we'll get some dates.
Yeah.
And we'll set it up, but
Understood.
you can have that conversation with him.
yeah, if you
Sounds
could,
great.
We could all be there.
yeah, if you could do that, and then we can get back,
We'll get
say,
2 or 3 dates from
Okay.
him that he would be available to do
Okay.
that, and then you guys can decide.
all right,
We'll
Good-
communicate.
good point,
through Joe.
Margaret, though, that's a good point.
Yeah, Margaret, I
There's a lot of
know
gray
the
area.
exact answer to that.
I,
and I'll
I
get
don't
him
need,
to-
I'm not conveying any additional information
Right.
to
Well,
him,
And that's what to
Yeah.
ask.
Right,
right?
ask.
Just reiterating.
I'm
Yeah.
reiterating something
the-
that was already said.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because the bottom line is, Joe would be the guy who would have to defend us in court. So I want you to
Our
do
lawyer,
what
Joe
he
Griswold.
is comfortable with.
understood,
Because it's really what he can do.
sure,
So. Yeah.
go ahead.
Quiet man speak.
So as a member of the golf course, if Craig says to me, I don't remember him doing this, but let's say he did. Last summer, geez, Craig, it's awful hot out here and your umbrellas keep blowing over. What are you gonna do about that? And he says, well, I'm actually planning on putting a roof on this. This deck is, and he asked like what I think about putting a roof on that deck. At that time, there's nothing,
Right.
no business in front of the board. I think I should be able to say, yeah, that's a good idea. It is stinking hot out here.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yep,
Sorry for the stupid
right.
language here, but.
And then follow that with,
So,
bring it.
case in point, I was having a coffee with Craig at the Schwendy Hut the other morning, and I said, oh, hey, I guess you're coming in front of the board on Thursday. That's great. Yeah, hey, you're in a butter. Are you even allowed to talk about this? And I said, I don't know. I think I could be objective about it, but I don't, we'll have to find out. And we found out this morning. That was the extent of our conversation about this thing. I'm smart enough to know I can't go
Yeah, I think that was
any
great.
detail, beyond that. And don't really want to because I want to understand what all of us have to say about it. So hopefully I would, if I acted in that manner, which I just described, I'm in pretty good shape.
Yep. Yeah, you think good.
He didn't buy the coffee, did he?
No, I might. I think I owed it. Not sure. But I am, and obviously I am a butter and I am a member, and so I have opinions about what he's doing over there, but as a planning board member, I understand, I have to be very careful about my approach.
Yeah, you just don't want any of those, but you said.
Well, yeah,
Instances.
and I think Joe can help you
Right.
frame those responses like Rick's talking about, so we'll get some dates.
All right, sounds good.
Excellent.
We can move on a little bit.
Mhm.
Everyone's
Please.
good.
No, good, yeah, no, I'm fine. Exactly.
So let's do a little voting here. We're gonna go on, we had the public meeting on the zoning number 11, amendment number 11. And it's pretty clear, pretty straightforward.
You cared.
So, yeah, so we gotta make a motion and then vote on it and go to the next. Do you recall what was the building permit for
Oh, yes.
the
That was
1,000 to 10,000? And we're just taking out the language of the $1,000 for the building permit. We're taking it right out
Well,
of the.
okay.
I think you just cite the cite it, yeah, the paragraph and everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to get into the money, just remove. we're gonna
That
remove-
particular reference to the, in
Do we have the draft?
the planning board ordinance.
Well, do we have the draft?
Yeah, you
been
received
emailed a
it.
few times.
You've been-
Yeah, we do have it, but.
So
I don't,
the
I don't
bottom
have-
line is it's remove paragraph 2.
Yes.
That's what that's what we wanted to say.
Yeah,
Okay, let's do a dry run here.
Oh, there we go.
thank you, Tara.
So I could say that, I move that the, planning board remove the section D referring to remodeling, repairing as it has, no. I move that the planning board remove section D from its ordinances to be replaced by Selectmen Ordinance number 17 referring to building permits.
Not replace, but just
Yeah, we're
remove.
just taking it
We're not
right out.
replacing it.
Replace
into
it.
zoning.
All you need to do is vote to put amendment 11 on the warrant, and I'm hoping that it was already submitted to the town clerk Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yes, it is. Yes, we had it in the office Tuesday.
Yeah, so this is a retroactive that was, I guess, an oversight at the hearing. But that's all you need to say, is to put 11 on the warrant.
Okay, then try again. I move that the planning board remove section D referring to remodeling and repairing from its ordinances. And to move to place amendment number 11 on the ordinances for this year's town meeting.
That's not quite right. You're voting to recommend that town meeting adopt proposed amendment number 11.
Period.
That's it.
Copy that.
You covered.
Seconded.
Just copy that.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's just copy what Tara just said,
Yeah,
we need to vote on.
And I seconded.
and
Yeah.
Morgan seconded it.
and we'll just do all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Done. Thank you.
Well. Well,
Was it pulling teeth there?
Yeah, review zoning amendments for March town meeting. Do we want to just talk about it a little bit? Do we want to go over anything with these zoning? We've
Yeah.
already,
Well, I wanted to talk about it, just because I kind of felt like we should have a game plan as to what we think will help get these amendments passed, as far as a game plan, I guess, to educate are the public as far as what are in these amendments, what aren't they saying, you know, so that people can make their educated decision. And I don't know if it's possible like, to set up a table or anything like that, 50 feet away from voting where, you know, we could have a member or two there. People can come and ask questions the day of. I know we've started putting articles in Wigwag, like that's another venue. I just kind of wanted to have that discussion as to, you know, how we can kind of market what we're doing so that people can make an educated decision of what they want to see.
I'd like to second that idea. I've already been approached by 2 people wondering what does that mean? They've seen the draft and can't figure out what that means. What we need to do something to fix that. But I think Tara once cautioned us, we have to be very careful about how we do that. And I'd like to have her repeat that. To what extent we can go forward, Tara, and explain what the change will mean without coming across as telling someone how to vote. You had raised that issue in the past. when this-
I think the issue I raised in in the past was no local funds can be used to advocate a certain vote. So whatever you do can't involve Alicia or Steve or Mark or any of their time or even the town's copier.
Oh,
Past that, it might be a question for town council in terms of advocacy. But one thing that you talked about at one time was the possibility of having an additional public meeting. Is that something you'd want to think about?
They don't come.
They
Tara.
don't come. There's
Yeah.
been one person at each one, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even at select board public hearings.
yeah.
Alan,
Could we set up a website from the planning board that in English explains the warrants, and all you'd have to do is say, go to the website.
Does anybody
Well,
know?
hopefully we did that pretty well in the descriptions of the amendments that will be on the warrant.
We may have, but, and I don't disagree, I don't remember, but if we have it in a one page or a one place, you know, we can give people a link and say, go read this.
Mark,
And now that you have voted on Amendment 11, we have a document that we will put on the town website under the planning board. It is not an advocacy, it is just information. There's nothing that says, please vote for these in the affirmative. It just states what it is. Tara's already done an explanation
The purpose.
of the purpose of what it is for. And the moderator has said that she will allow those to be posted like we have done at other town
oh,
meetings,
okay,
so that people can read them coming in if they have questions. If one of you, and again, it's not to say, please vote for this, but it's to answer questions about what does this mean? She's okay with planning board members manning that and answering questions. So you have the support of the moderator and the select board to be able to set that up. And we'll have the link on the town website. We have a couple of community meetings, right? The Tim Time Tuesday morning community meetings that we can mention it. You might even, you've got a few more days before the March wigwag. And all you would need to do is, hey, we have a lot of amendments coming up on the town meeting warrant. If you want more information about what those are or an explanation of what they are, go to this link and we'll put the link to the town website on that. I think all we need to do is just not say, please vote for everything,
Right.
right?
correct, yeah.
So all we're doing is presenting information.
So if we do that to the wigwag, where does the cost go? The town, with the town?
There's no cost.
Someone from the
just-
board. right?
Morgan is awesome at writing, and it doesn't even have
Yeah.
to be long, just say.
Yeah.
You know, so that they can put a big headline on page 2 or whatever, so that people see it and see a link. go to that link and read,
Okay,
right? And then you guys just decide who wants to stand there. If anybody.
okay.
But I don't think that making those copies and having them available at the polls is violating, as Tara said, we're not advocating a position. We're just providing information, so.
Well, Mark, by law, you have to have the content of the amendments available easily where people can read it on their way in the voting booth.
Yeah, we already have it now at the post office, well, we will, now that you voted, we will have it at the post office and at the, here at town hall, so.
But at the voting place too, it's supposed to be available. And,
We'll have it
Yeah.
at the.
and the descriptions that I gave you, I mean, those, the more people see those, they're to go on the warrant and the ballot. So the more people see them around in advance, they'll be familiar when they get in the voting booth.
Margaret?
Can we also be modern and have a QR code?
We don't do those yet.
We don't know how.
But we have AI.
Yeah, that's right. We're getting
Sure.
eventually.
We don't do QR.
Is everyone okay with Morgan's writing something up, if she will accept that?
So let's just, I wanna understand what it is. So, I mean, I can just take these descriptions and put them in.
Not even that.
Not even that. Okay, so what are we doing now?
Send them to a link.
Send it to the link that has that.
A paragraph that just says there's a lot of amendments coming up. You're gonna see these on the warrant. And if, and to familiarize yourself with them before the voting and go to this link. That's really all you need to do.
What about a couple sentences though that mention the topics, like there are amendments about EV charging and solar and wind and parking, like that?
Yeah.
Just little chunks.
But the
Yeah,
subject,
just get them
The subject.
interested in. it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then,
little bullet point.
yeah.
should I just link the town's website or will you
Yeah, you're
say?
gonna link, wherever it ends up on the
I'll
town
send it.
webpage,
Okay.
Alicia can send it.
Perfect, and I can do that in the next 2 days.
Thank you very much,
Do
Morgan.
we want to note that, if you have any questions, there's another planning board meeting coming up before town meeting?
Is it?
Put it out there.
Is it, are we having, don't we have another planning board meeting before town meeting?
No,
Well, no.
No, we don't.
Your
All right, missed that.
14th Is your next meeting.
Okay, sorry, no, so I guess they can't come in front of the board and ask a question.
But is it
by so
fair to
fast.
reference that there's been public hearings with lots of great discussion, or at least some discussion, not lots of great discussion?
Welcome to my world.
Well,
I think it's worth-
no, actually,
Yeah.
that is important
Yeah.
to say that
Yeah,
meetings where these have been discussed, if you want to hear those, are on the town YouTube channel.
Yes. that's
public
the
hearings.
point of information.
And we've had public.
Public
hearings
hearing,
about
that
that
was meant.
a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And even subsequent discussion by this board
Yeah.
to talk about whether or not we
Yeah.
should put it on the
Recorded.
warrant.
but could some of that be confusing? Because most of the discussion was about an amendment that was dropped.
No.
No, we've had,
But we had 2 public hearings.
yeah,
Yeah,
on all of these, and
the subsequent meetings though were about an amendment that's not on the ballot.
It might be good for them to hear both sides of what we discussed on that. though.
I just think it could be confusing,
Like amendment 6 is the one we don't have, right? So
right?
I wouldn't necessarily point that out, but we did talk about other things in other public hearings.
Yeah, let them make their own decision and
Yeah.
Yeah.
point them
Mhm.
to the
Point them to the-
YouTube channel.
And they can choose which
Yeah,
ones they
they
want
can
to
choose.
Yeah,
That's easy.
Okay,
So
I can do that.
all right, good. Any other further discussion with the zoning amendment stuff?
I had one, I'm sorry, I had it on my screen, and I lost it now, I can't find it. It's amendment, Tara, it's amendment, 4, I believe. Could you pull it up on your screen?
Solar energy?
No, then it must be 3. It's the one that Margaret and I worked on with you.
With set amendment,
Accessory uses?
It's 3.
It's Amendment 3, right? So, the observation that was made to me that the phraseology to allow some additional activities as accessory uses is murky. What exactly does that mean? Is there anything we could do that makes it more clear? I can explain what it is. But the explanation is more than just a phrase.
Well,
what
I mean,
People think we may, well, they can do anything then, right? That's
the,
how
the,
people,
yeah, I mean, you can write the description any way you want. The point of the description is really just based on the false assumption that everybody's going to read the amendments, and the description on the ballot is just so they know which is which.
right? Yeah, no.
You certainly could make that more specific and point to the table in the ordinance, but I don't know if people are going to look at that either.
One or two.
Anyway, I just throw that out. It was an observation. I think made by two separate people that they didn't understand. What do you mean by some additional activities? I mean, how do you bound that?
Right, what do we mean?
Well, what we mean is what's allowed in the use table, right? So we mean two whole lists of things: special recreational entertainment events and skills venues and courses. So if the door is still open to add that language, Mark, we certainly could change that in the warrant and ballot language.
Yeah, we have not gone to town report yet.
Let me
That's in the
see the
description?
amendment itself. Because what we are showing right now is not the amendment.
Right? But we were
There's-
talking about the description, I thought, so.
This amendment 3?
Mhm.
Yeah, Margaret.
No, I'm looking at it on.
Do we, the description, is that a huge issue just to make the minor language?
No,
No, I mean, not on there.
but there's a whole bunch of things listed in the zoning ordinance too. I mean, there's a lot of things that have the A/SE next to them. There's civic centers in one district, there's daycare and pre-kindergarten in 3 districts. The things I listed before are in 5 districts and so on. So like, where do you draw the line on those examples and details? That's why I abbreviated it.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's not resolvable.
It'd be a very long list.
Well, that's what I was bumping up against. I couldn't figure out a way to.
Well, if somebody
Sure.
is manning a station, we could also say, we could post like, they could have the use table to.
Yeah,
show-
definitely. You won't have the zoning ordinance with you.
Yeah, I
Jack?
mean, if that's how we,
But we
So-
could, but we could add the language, allow certain additional activities as identified in the use table. You know, we
Yeah, no,
could definitely tweak the language so that it's not just open.
that's just in a description, so that's not. an
Right.
issue.
But I wouldn't try to list, there's just too many to list.
I like the idea of citing the use table.
Yeah, we can tweak that.
Tara, can you get that to us as soon as possible, because we need to integrate that quickly.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so we're gonna be, the polls will be open from 11 to 5 on March 12th at the elementary school. So if you guys can work out a schedule so that there will be at least one select board member there all the time. But
I mean,
you know,
the
let
planning
us
board.
know if somebody's gonna cover those 6 hours and how you're gonna do it.
Good plan, Wilkie.
The moderator knows what's going on.
Is that something, we've never done that before, have we?
As a planning board, no, not intentional like this,
Okay.
no.
So it's on the,
Do we want to just do that right now?
It's
Yeah.
up to you. whatever
Yeah,
you-
I think so.
Or have to.
Calendar
So
review,
it's 11
I'm working.
to.
11 to 5.
11 to 5.
Do we want to do the rewording together now?
Is it as simple as adding?
That's what I was asking, that, right, here's the Word file.
We have the vote and then we go to town meeting that night.
Yeah,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Yeah, Tara, put in what you would recommend and then the board can look at it. You had great wording that you just said.
Some additional activities that's specified in the use table.
I think that's all it needs to say.
Specified, yeah, as allowed, and you, no, I'm gonna stay away from allowed.
As specified.
Specified, yeah, allowed gets you to the language again.
Can we just say the use table? It doesn't really have a name.
Yes.
Yeah, the use table's fine, Tara.
That may be in the wrong place.
No, that's okay. Right. This is- Specifying use-
How's that?
Great.
Jeez, what's going on?
The town meeting starts when?
11.
Well,
Polls
the
open 11
polls
to
open
5.
at
Well, I
11,
mean, yeah.
11 to 5, so we need persons to man.
Right, but the meeting itself is referred to as deliberations.
The deliberative
Deliberative
session is at 6 P.M.
Right.
But that's,
Some of us still have two.
by then, everyone has voted,
Mhm.
so you want to man a table
Neither
between
do
11
I,
and
but
5 for
if
voters
you
coming
think
in,
That's good.
whether you want to. It's 6 hours, whether you want to have
There's a wrong.
We want to do
2
1 or 2 hour
hours,
blocks. yeah.
1 or 2 hour blocks, however you guys want to do it. I won't be able to participate. And I have to monitor I'll be monitoring the polling itself as a select board member.
I'll see ballot clerking probably for 2 hours, but then I can do 2 hours, so.
Okay, I will.
Usually,
Yeah, if she decides she needs us,
yeah,
I'm in to do that too.
so,
Has that already been discussed? Cause I don't think.
she hasn't put it out yet,
Okay.
no, but I could also tell her my availability too and say, you know, and then if, so I can certainly do 2 hours. And I'm flexible as to what other people's schedule is, so.
Bill, you good
It's
for 2
better.
hours?
He did not copy yours.
You good for 2 hours?
Right, I'll
Okay,
need to be resuscitated afterward.
We'll worry about that at that time.
There's always a
So,
public safety person.
I'll have
Yeah, the public
We'll
safety
get a
would be on
table and
board.
chairs.
I'm
To
good
administer
for 1 to
oxygen.
3.
Yeah.
To get very specific, I'm good for 1 to 3.
Okay.
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 so someone do 11 to 1 and someone do 3 to 5.
Okay, I'll do 11 to 1.
Okay, and then
To 3, Margaret, and then.
well, anybody that wants to join us, that would be
Yes.
3, 2.
Yeah, so maybe
Just not 4.
Isn't that for-
Yeah.
Nope.
It's not 4, okay, oh,
I'm gonna have to check my calendar, but if I can, I'll team up with somebody else to let me help.
Yeah, oh, definitely accept all the assistance.
That's.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big help.
Usually,
Having 11 warrant articles is a
it's a lot.
big, or 10 warrant articles is a big deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we've been,
And my
Or-
experience is they check.
So
no,
we'll have
they don't
one is Bill.
understand.
right,
That's it.
no, that's
11
exactly
one.
it.
That's the danger we face.
Yeah.
Bill,
1 to 3, Margaret,
okay.
and 3 to 5, Catherine.
If you were there, John, that would be very helpful.
And we'll let Patty know that you're gonna be here. Thank you.
Somebody always brings food too.
That's right.
Okay.
The importance.
I can do 11.
Do I get the happy hour?
Okay.
Okay,
All right, so people are gonna man the station. I'm gonna write a wigwag article. Sarah just fixed that language. All is well.
And I would also mention in your article that there will be an information desk at the polls. Yeah.
And if you have any questions.
Perfect.
I can see it now, Margaret. The assault.
Okay, anything else on the zoning amendments for March meeting?
I'm done.
We can move forward.
Okay.
Correspondence, anything?
No.
Nothing, that's great. Committee reports, the town core group,
Recorded me.
nothing. Conservation Commission, we have a few things, so. They had a meeting just yesterday. Wow, it seems like a week ago. So they are in discussion finally with the Forest Service, Brooke Brown. She was someplace else for a little while helping out, I believe, and she's back, so. The chair has been discussing, talking with her as well as Rick Vanderpool. In regards to mitigation for the pond. Rick Vanderpool is coming out in the spring to flag out the work areas for that mitigation, that little river that comes down into the pond. That's gonna happen. That's big news. I mean, we've been waiting for this for a bunch of years, it seems. So they're gonna flag that all out so that the Forest Service can get in there and do their thing.
What
Another
is it they're
thing,
doing?
well, they're gonna, so we don't have to dredge the pond anymore. They're gonna go up quite a ways, that little river that comes into the pond.
It's no problem.
Couple miles or something. So they're gonna go up and flag that out. What that means is they're going to go, right now, all of that sediment is coming down the river and dumping right into the pond. So they're gonna go up the river. And they're going to do what
They're gonna build structures, they're gonna like rocks and fallen trees.
natural stuff that's right
Natural
there.
Stuff, it's not a dam or anything.
Right.
No, they're usually called water bars.
There you
Water
go.
bars, or however you wanna think about it, but to slow the water down before it gets to the pond. Because right now it's rushing down the river, hits the pond, and the stuff settles out.
Okay,
So they're trying to slow the water down
They slow it down and it puts the sediment out
off to the side.
off to the side.
Yeah, it's a diversionary
It is.
structures.
And
Yeah.
it is, they've designed these structures, it's not just haphazard, they actually build the structures so that they don't just go in the river, it does go off to the bankings
Yep.
and drop the sediment. So this is a first step before we do the dredging project. We want to try to get these structures in the stream prior.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So when it starts to going, I'll let everyone know. You can see it.
cool.
Also, we have a green belt sign out. I don't know if anyone has seen it, but it's a nice big sign. When you're leaving the cross-country ski center,
Mhm.
you go underneath the bridge, a little underneath the road.
Mhm.
And where they're building the houses there up on, it's part of Moose Run area. So you go underneath the bridge and when you, just before you take the right, to go in skiing on Loop, there's a big green belt sign that we have put up there. So check it out. It's like a 4x4
Yeah, 3x4
sign,
or
3x4. It's a big sign. And that's a big deal. We worked really hard to get that in place. And Megan, DPW, was kind enough to put it up in the fall for us. And also, the last thing they talked about yesterday was road salt.
Oh, yeah.
And they got an action plan, but it's in discussion right now, so. Also Megan Bubar came in yesterday and talked a little bit about that. They're trying different materials, they're trying different plow blades. The plow blades will take up more of the snow and move it out of the way. But it's just all experimental stuff right now. Mark, do you have anything else to say on that one?
No, she's trying to reduce salt use, but it's very difficult here.
Yeah.
We have low traffic counts, and so. And the weather has been changing, so you have a lot of thawing and refreezing, and there's a lot of ice around that we have to deal with. So salt is really the only option. We can put sand down, but sand doesn't melt anything. It just gives you a little better traction.
Right, and
And then
it
it
dissipates
goes off to
quickly.
the side.
Yeah.
So she is looking around, and we're looking at new applicators off the trucks to make the salt more effective so we can use less.
Yep, Rick.
Just make one comment on the salt thing. These condo associations by default just use a ton of salt and sand in their parking lots and walkways because of the, I think, liability concerns related to slip and fall issues out there. So whatever we do from a town perspective, we also want to try to, I know this is more of a conservation commission thing, but maybe address that with some of the property management companies that are dumping. I know my driveway is ridiculous. The amount of salt that ends up in my living room, or at least my mudroom and walkway, because I'm walking through my parking lot.
Right.
Significant, so.
Yeah, it's an issue throughout the town. So the commission is talking about all of it, so it's in discussion, trying to figure out what to do. But that was pretty much it for their meeting. Wow, look at that, we're down to the
I
bottom.
think you have a.
So,
Alan.
question, Alan,
Can we do new business?
oh, yeah, we can do it, go ahead.
I just, I have an idea, I don't know where it's gonna go or anything like it. But the only thing left to me that's major in town is village commercial, that whole area of town square. I think the planning board has an obligation to look at it now before anybody proposes before the board a real plan and see what we can do to direct them in the directions we want the town to go. I don't have specific ideas. I think we should look at it before something comes before us. So we can, like I say, direct the town in the direction we want it to go.
Talking about town-owned land or private?
No, it's private land, right?
But I don't, again, I don't have specifics. If it's privately owned, can we, I'm hoping Tara's still here. Can we rezone things? For example, if the first thing that comes to mind is the ice arena, it's recreation. What if we rezone that?
No,
Town owns.
C1. It's,
C1.
so I think the first thing you should do is
The zone.
take your regulations out, take the zoning map out. And go over what is vacant, what is it currently zoned, and what does that zoning mean? That would be very useful for you guys to understand what is there. But the arena is zoned commercial 1.
Okay,
So those are, that, I think it's a great idea, Alan. I go over what's there and what does it mean? And then you can kind of plan, what kind of steps do you want to take?
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, there's been
Yeah,
one issue.
Kate, if I can add one thing to put in your minds, so Kayla and I had a recent, conversation about, well, starting with what happened with Amendment 6 and what else could we do? And, it seems like a lot of the issues that you run into when you bring up certain zoning changes lead me to wonder why you still have the VC district. Because it was a lot bigger and pieces were changed to this and that. And it seems like these leftover pieces of VC, not necessarily fitting where they are, have lead to some of this conflict. And as you review the zoning ordinance and the zoning map, you might think about whether each VC piece could more appropriately fit in a different district that it abuts. Because they really are acting like leftover pieces at this point. In our minds as planners.
Yeah, chopped up, chopped away,
All these pieces, yeah.
turned into.
Just
LD.
something to think about when you're reviewing the zoning map.
So how would we proceed in a general way from here? I'm not capable of looking at the maps and figuring this stuff out.
Well, we usually have done it by topic, Alan. I mean, we have not done it as expansive as you're recommending here. But for example, C1, I think is what you're talking about, the undeveloped land in C1.
Mhm.
We've talked about zoning out of Z1 multifamily housing so that no more condominiums can be built there to preserve that for commercial construction. We've not done anything except talk about it. And we haven't talked about it in a while, but I think that's the sort of thing you're talking about. But that's a discussion at planning board, and it'll end up as a zoning amendment in front of the town in the end.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we've
so-
had that kind of discussion.
So what if you just put an agenda item on to review C1 and the town center first, and just look at what it's zoned and what does that mean? What can get built there? And then start that as the starting, use that as the starting.
The first
I'd-
step-
I'd suggest in thinking about that, think about also whether any of the adjoining pieces of VC make more sense as C1. I think I'm concerned by now that that we have only looked at one district zoning at a time instead of bigger picture of the district boundaries.
Fine, yeah.
I'll put that on March agenda. and we'll-
Certainly can change some
Touch it around.
VC to LDR,
And I think it is good to do it proactively before you get something in front of you.
HDR.
Yep.
So my question is, who can get the information together to distribute to us to look before we come in next time?
So,
Make a small package of just what we're discussing now. Am I making sense?
Well, you should all have a copy of the current zoning ordinance.
You have.
And a
you
copy
have
of-
it.
Right.
And the zoning map, you can go in on the town's GIS and blow up different pieces of it.
We'll at least start a conversation about it and then see how we can.
I can do some.
And then what further information we may need.
I love the GIS.
That's
map.
fine.
I can do some.
I think we need to get this ball rolling.
Yeah, there's so
Sure.
much information. We'll go to another meeting. I'm sure.
Okay.
Many meetings.
Many, yeah.
I'm sure there will be a lot of
There's a lot.
discussion about it.
Oh,
from the
yeah,
public.
it's gonna be extremely.
Not to mention the private landowner.
Mhm.
That's where the real discussion is.
I guess as we're reviewing that, like, I'd almost like to understand what our intents are, like, one technique we used to say is, we need to do this because of that, right? And so we've, as a board, been working on how can we, do some things to potentially spur some development that will increase housing stock and maybe reduce, prices for folks to live here. But there might be other things that either have been discussed before and I wasn't paying attention at the time because I wasn't here a lot, or wasn't a resident of the community. But if we want additional shops like Dreams and Visions to, that we need a bigger commercial base, which is probably something that's been said before, that we need to look at this stuff specifically with an eye towards that.
Well, I think your master plan, action plan is what you're talking about.
Has all the tasks that everyone is supposed to look at,
All right, I know I've seen that.
check off, that's supposed to drive.
That is what's supposed to guide this kind of conversation. This is a step in implementing the new master plan that you're talking about.
Yeah. Mark,
thank you.
I think
Yeah.
to Alan's point, I think it would be very easy for staff. We'll put together a package. Right, so everybody's not flipping pages and everything else.
All right, sure.
Send it to Tara, let her look it over. And then we'll send it out to you and make it an agenda item for March.
That'll be awesome, yeah.
That'll be easy.
In April.
We'll start there, yeah.
Just give me a lot of-
It's,
It's a big discussion.
It's a big discussion.
Yeah,
But it's worth it.
But I love the fact that you're doing it before something is in front of you.
yeah, because something,
It's very
stuff's coming
important.
up soon.
well, we've had conceptual plans briefed
And
to us.
you've had conceptual plans, and so this is a good time to do this.
Yeah.
And you'll know what amendments passed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good point. Thank you.
And Alan, you get a gold star.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be in charge of it.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Come on, Alan. You should know better. Yeah.
My hands are tied.
Okay, the next, meeting is March 14,
Town meeting?
Town meeting is March twelfth,
Well,
so we'll have a few things to
6
discuss.
P.M.
Yeah.
Well,
deliberative session.
And
Please be there.
and the 14 March meeting is when we reappoint officers of the planning board.
Okay,
So chair, vice chair, secretary.
And for
Okay.
those of you whose terms are ending, if you could send
Yes,
an email, please. If you
Okay.
want to be reappointed, so that we can put it on. The select board has a meeting immediately following town meeting. And
we do it right
they
there.
will appoint. the new-
I think there are two. I
Boards
think
and-
Bill, you're one, and there's somebody else who needs to be reappointed.
it probably, is it?
We
me?
have it in,
We'll let you know
Right.
if you're up.
Okay,
so we do,
Doesn't the planning board vote on who their officers are?
you know, talking about reappointing
Reappointing.
Members on the
Members.
planning board.
by the select board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I'm on the list, I wanna do it again.
there are two.
Did you say you do want to do it again if you're up?
Yep.
Good. We'll send an email just to
Right.
cover us.
'Cause that evening, right after the town meeting, we vote on the officers.
yeah,
And not the.
Not the
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
sorry,
The appointees.
the appointees.
the point.
We vote on the officers of the select board.
This is true, yes,
You got a lot in there.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, anything else? Can I have a motion to?
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn this meeting.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you, Sarah.